Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Majority podcast in a new time slot of 7 p.m. every Wednesday. I'm your host, Mark Devlin, and this is Scotland's #1 anti-nationalist podcast, going out live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I'm here tonight with my co-host, Niall Fraser, and Mary Devlin.
Hello.
How are you doing tonight?
We're doing great, thanks.
Okay, we've had a few weeks off and we're back with another great show. So what we're going to be talking about tonight, Mary?
Well, tonight I'll be discussing the battle for the leadership of the Conservative Party and, of course, the Prime Minister job, and what we think each candidate would mean for Scotland.
Big issue. And now?
Yes, I'll be asking, will the Scottish Tories grow stronger with Boris gone?
No laughing at the back. And I'll be discussing our, with a special guest, Ian Smart, whether Keir Starmer means what he says when he says there'll be no alliance with the SNP.
And of course, we have Zoomer of the Week.
Yep.
Right, so we'll be back in just a moment. Right, thanks to you all. Our what's it called? Crowdfund to fight Nicola Sturgeon's pendy ref is going very well. We've already raised £6,600, which includes money for billboards and social media, attacking a whole idea of pretendy ref, and as well we are fighting. We're putting money together for People's Legal Challenge. Against this Supreme Court nonsense that's going on. There is a possibility for us to inject ourselves in there and to cause more trouble and delays for the whole process. So the next 16 months are vital, and when we destroy the referendum, we will destroy Scottish nationalism, because if they have nowhere to go, then why would you ever vote for them? So if you can, please, if you can afford to, please go to our website. I've got it here. And up the top there is a donate button, and you can go directly to the, there it is up here, donate, and then it goes to the thing which should come up. There we go. Let's destroy Sturgeon's pretendy ref. And you can see all the people who have donated there. Thank you very much to everyone who has donated so far. Okay, so what else we've got to do? So Mary,
also,
you're up.
We'd like to thank our friends at UK Union Voice and United Against Separation for supporting the podcast by letting us broadcast directly to their Facebook pages, where many of you are watching tonight. So thank you.
Right, okay, and you can also watch on YouTube, where you can subscribe and leave comments. Please do subscribe. We need your subscribers.
Yes, and please do like, share, comment, tell your friends, extend our reach via the click of a button. Good comments get read in the show, but please do keep them short. No more essays, please, and we'll try to get as many in as we humanly can. And hello to everyone in the chat already. Thanks for your comments.
Yeah, I'm just saying a little note that Mary, because Mary's on the show tonight and doing the comments at the same time, sometimes she'll look a bit serious at the camera. So please, please don't send comments. Well, Mary's looking so serious. That's because she's reading your comments that are making her look so serious. All right, we will be back in just a second. Right, Mary, you're up.
I'm up. Okay, so hello everyone. Well, this week's news has been dominated by the contest for the leadership of the Conservative Party. The winner, of course, will become the next Prime Minister of the UK. So we got to kind of see what some of the candidates were about in two of the televised debates over the weekend. And then Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss refused to do a third debate, as they said it was damaging to the Conservative Party. Now, we've just found out this afternoon that the final two candidates in the contest are former Chancellor of the Exchequer Rishi Sunak and Foreign Secretary Liz Truss. We know that Rishi Sunak was widely expected to be in the final running. He came first with 137 votes. Liz Truss came second with 113 votes. She was 24 votes behind Rishi, but beating out Penny Mordaunt, who had 105 votes. So there were only 8 votes in it for Liz Truss. And the winner will not be decided until September 5th, which is nearly 7 weeks away. So we're going to have to wait till then to find out who the eventual winner is going to be. So please let us know your views in the comments. As Mark said, I'm doing 2 jobs tonight, but I'll try to put up as many comments as I can. So please let us know what you think of the candidates, who you think are going to win, and what it means, and so on. So Mark and Niall, first of all, do you think the debates were good for getting to know the candidates? And should the remaining candidates have continued to debate? What do you think, guys?
Mark first.
Oh, okay, me, all right. Well, I think I know that many, some Conservatives were like, okay, well, why are we airing our dirty laundry in public? And I think, and giving, for example, Labour a bunch of attack lines. But I think ultimately, most people like myself, and I follow politics. Obviously, we're doing this as semi-professionally. So we want to know who the candidates are, and we want to know what their policies are. And I think having a debate about those policies is really important for anyone, whether you're a Tory Tory voter or party member, or whether you're from one of the opposition parties, because you want to know what these people are about, I think. So I think it's a shame that they didn't do more, because I really would have liked a bit more of a deep dive into some of those policies. They never got a chance to ask, for example, about Scottish question, never got a chance to ask about, I mean, even some of the hot button things, transgender issues or woke stuff, maybe Niall's, it's his specialty. So we didn't really get a chance to see that. The first debate was just about, bashing Boris, really. Second one, a bit more policy. And so I think people would have liked a deeper dive.
Yeah, of course.
How do you feel about it now?
Staying on that, I mean, there was only one standout candidate for me, and that was this Kemi Badenoch. I thought she performed rather well, and yet, out of all of them, the only one to stand out gets immediately cast aside. So we're left with the sort of, how would you describe them? They're all the same, basically.
Continuity candidates, I saw them described as.
That's a perfect phrase to use. I mean, they're all the same. We haven't had a single person come out against the World Economic Forum yet. Somebody, we're desperate for somebody to say, these people, these globalist Economic Forum people, they don't. Well, they shouldn't have. They shouldn't be influencing even a blade of grass on this country's soil. I don't think it should be happening. And the first candidate that openly goes against the WEF will come to prominence. I'm sure of it. Kemi was the only one close because they are it's anti-woke is what they're calling it, but it's just having a functioning brain. I
didn't feel as though she didn't feel. I mean, this is the thing about the debates. I didn't really feel that any of that came across from her. It seemed like she didn't really wasn't able to project any type of policy or anything. I mean, that's partially to do with the format, I think, as well. That it's like, well, what do you really stand for? And and I didn't really get a feeling of what she stood for. Now, I haven't even been able to. I didn't even. Let's say most people, you don't read articles and stuff about her. You don't know much about her. Okay, she worked at the Treasury for a bit. What else? What was she offering? Was there tax cuts? Was there anything? I can't remember any of that. That's just
It's very, very, very light on policy. Very, very light on policy indeed. I mean, like yourself, Matt, I would like to see a deeper dive into what policies are awaiting us from the new PM. But in the same time, I'll put it a different way. Out of all the candidates, I thought the one who had the most potential was Kemi, and just by virtue of the fact that she's done some shifts in McDonald's. I don't know if this is maybe a throwaway comment, but it's more working class than any other politician I've seen in recent memory, and that's strange.
Yeah, I don't know
from
about
the
that. I
Tory
don't think
party.
she's really working class. I mean, she's
If she's,
I
have
mean,
you
she
put a
presents
couple
herself
shifts
as
in a
okay.
McDonald's, Mark?
What's that?
Have you ever done a shift at McDonald's?
No, not
Our
yet.
daughter worked at McDonald's.
Not yet.
But there's plenty of time, I guess.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, for example, that guy who's doing the trade unions dispute and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the real feel that's a working class
Yeah.
person to me.
Mhm.
Maybe he is or not, I don't know. But I don't. I think someone who's worked as an engineer for a major bank, software engineer for a major bank, not necessarily that working class. So, I mean, she's trading on that a bit. Let's move away from her because she was the first one done. What's your...
What about some of the other ones who dropped out? What about Tom Tuggenut?
Well, he seemed like a nice guy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I wonder what he seemed to be Mr. Nice Guy, right? But again, did he have any policies other than, okay, I was in the army and I can lead a platoon? And of course, that's great. And thank you to him for his service, right? I mean, none of us can imagine what that's like to be, actually being under fire
Shot
in a
at,
combat
yeah.
situation and stuff like that. I mean, obviously, it's an incredible strength of character, but that's not what the thing is about. It's not, SAS who dares wins or something like that. This is a contest to see who is going to lead a political party, and to do that, you need to have a combination of certain things: presentation, policies, leadership, stuff like that. And I'm not sure that he was able to put those over, as was neither was Kemi either.
I think they both might get more senior positions in the future, and I think they probably deserve them too. So I would look to see them coming up in the cabinet, and maybe, in future years, if there's, another contest coming up, that they might feature more prominently then.
I mean, let's look at Penny, for instance, right? So Penny, I truly believe that it was her stance on what is a woman that let her down on this, because she's got history saying that trans women are women, or using all the buzzwords for this new woke gender ideology, and I think that has ultimately been her downfall in this very, very short campaign. It's sort of like a Trojan horse figure of the gender ideology.
No, I don't know so much about that. I mean, I don't know if it's high on a lot of voters' minds, really. Economy usually is number one, and I think policies, individual
truth
policies,
is number one, maybe.
Well, individual policies are that may be your policy is most important. I think for the podcast in general, how the person approaches the Scottish question is the most important. But even that's not maybe important for the majority of voters. Majority of voters are looking for, can the person actually lead? And I felt that certainly, I mean, I had no opinion on anyone at the beginning, and recently I was warming, I suppose, to Penny out of the top three. I think that she has the most ability to stomp on the SNP and to fight Keir Starmer at the the dispatch box. And I think that's very important, because every week we see Boris Johnson, or let's just say any leader of the Conservative Party, arguing with the opposition, and I think that while Liz Truss may have better, let's say not necessarily, say more conservative policies or a clearer policy agenda, let's put it that way, then is that, but she's not that good in public speaking, right?
Well,
so
if it was a pure contest about who can put down the SNP the best, I think Penny Mordaunt does come out on top of that. I'll agree with you there.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's no contest, but I mean, surely there's much more involved in just putting down the SNP, especially to the wider country. But I mean, to us, it means a heck of a lot. That's why you've got a lot of admiration for Penny. But at the same time, it's not quite enough. It's not, and it's proved not to be enough.
Yeah, it seems very close. Now, I think oh, sorry, Mary, go ahead. It's your segment.
No, it's fine. I was just going to say, so, Penny's not in the race anymore. So what do we think of Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss? Let's start with Rishi. What do we think his chances are?
Oh, I think ultimately he'll end up winning. I mean, I think his chances are very, very high at this point. I don't like him as a candidate. I mean, he was a Chancellor of Exchequer, and now he's telling us he's going to give us loads of tax cuts. Well, he was the Chancellor, so no faith in Rishi whatsoever. I think I'd prefer Truss, but it's the lesser of two evils almost at this point.
Yeah, I wonder. There's two things in play here for us. There's what we think as how well they will deal with the Scottish question, how well they deal with Scottish nationalism, and then there's the wider issue of how good are they? How will they be for the country as well, the UK? And I think a lot of it seems certainly that in both those counts, I think Rishi Sunak is poor. First of all, he's very easy to attack because of his own wealth and his wife's wealth. He's just an open target for that, right or wrong, whatever. If he's a self-made man or whatever it is, or he's living off his wife, that doesn't really make much difference. People just instinctively don't really trust wealthy people that if they've not gone along the journey with them. I think there's some part if you see someone climbing up, that's a different matter. Maybe Richard Branson or something like that. And that's one part, but I think this idea that he backstabbed, as one of the comments just said there, that he backstabbed Boris is real turnoff for the members. And then that's no wider thing. And then is he offering anything new? I mean, they're really not offering anything new at all.
Well, I see another comment come in there, Tommy Mowat. Sunak isn't a change.
Yeah, he's not really a change.
It's in two comments, but that's precisely how I feel about the situation as well.
Yeah, it's not really a change. And then finally, we talked about the Scottish question. And I mean, I'll just show you these clips here. Here is this is Liz Truss's answer when asked, would you consider a second referendum? And under any circumstances, Liz Truss, no. And Isabel Hardman, the interviewer, says none at all. Well, Liz Truss, the last referendum was in 2014, was described as a once in a generation referendum. And now we're in 2022. That's not a generation ago. And so compare that with Rishi Sunak's thing, which I'm not going to read out here, but it's just like it's going to play out in the courts, and our priority right now isn't to have a referendum. It's all this kind of we'll wait and see, and now is not the time. And I think the tide has turned. Maybe we'll come onto this a little bit later. I think the tide has turned for pro-UK support in Scotland, and it's now much hard. It's more hard. And perhaps we are a little bit responsible for that, and all the other people on Twitter and social media who have been pushing and saying no, we don't want even to say that we'll have another referendum in 20 years. Why should we? We won. It's like no referendum. We don't need another one. And I think Rishi doesn't understand that at all. I think very just the same old stuff. It's no good. We do need some kind of change.
Okay. So we're thinking that Liz Truss might be better for Scotland. Is that our final?
Ultimately, I would, out of the two of them, I would say definitely Liz Truss. And Mark's got a wee tidbit of information as well. He told me that Liz Truss is born Paisley raised.
Paisley raised, not born.
Paisley raised. So she's definitely got a wee bit of credentials there. If she's grew up in Paisley, I'll give her that.
Oh, that must be tough. There's quite a funny bit in this article here, actually, I read. It says she expanded on her time in Paisley and said that she once played the role of Margaret Thatcher in West Primary's recreation of the 1983 general election. I jumped at the chance and gave a heartfelt speech at the hustings, but ended up with 0 votes. I didn't even vote for myself. Even at that age, we knew it was simply unpopular to be a Tory in the west of Scotland.
She knows the script then.
Yes.
And to be fair, I don't know a lot about Liz Truss, so maybe the more we find out about her, the better.
I think that's a possibility that she can grow at the dispatch box, as it were. If people have low expectations, then perhaps she can grow. But for us, I think all that's important is that she doesn't hum and haw about giving us a second referendum. The Nationalists are weak. They have they're in a constitutional dead end right now. The very worst thing that we need to do is give them any kind of hope.
Oxygen.
No oxygen whatsoever at all. We will come on a little bit more to that as we go. Oh yes, also there was this thing, and Rishi actually got here. Rishi Sunak supported India 2 after Brexit. Unearthed comments provide startling insight. Okay, well, so it's that kind of, we need to, whether that's still, I mean, of course, all candidates have firmed up a little bit. We'll be talking later with Ian Smart, who's going to talk about the Labour Party firming up. But we don't want, to go backwards. That's the thing. We're at a cusp, we're at a turning point, I think, so we can go from there.
Okay.
Yeah. Where are we at now?
We're moving on.
We're moving on to my segment, I believe.
All right. Okay. All right. So, all right. Thanks for that. Please do keep bringing in your comments for right now. I'm trying to find the wee graphic. Okay, and we will be back in a second.
Okay, so I'm just seeing all these lovely comments coming in. Love him or hate him, but Boris Johnson was great at the box. Most PMQs can't see Sunak or trust thinking fast. I totally agree with that. I think we'll actually long for the days when Boris was at the dispatch box, but I'll leave that.
Some of us will, anyway.
Some of us will, yeah. So similar to Mary's segment, we're going to stick on the Tories here, but with a tartan twist. It's the Scottish Tories. So where does the exit of Boris Johnson leave the Scottish Tories? You may remember that earlier in the year, Douglas Ross painfully going back and forth on the question of whether Boris should resign. But my question is whether or not Boris's exit strengthens the Scottish Tory position, if at all. And please let us know in the comments, what do you think will happen to the Scottish Tories now that Boris has left? Because it leaves them in quite a weird predicament. I mean, he was clearly a divisive character, Boris, but in reality, the SNP have done so much to diminish the Tory brand. They've made it absolutely toxic up here, just the word Tory. So I can't see them being able to cast aside that toxic connotation behind Tory, even if with Boris gone. So
Boris gone.
Yeah, Gonson. So they're still going to run their hate campaign against the Tories, no matter what. The evil Tories, Tory austerity, it's the Tories that causing the train problems in Scotland. We're still going to be in amongst it. I mean, it could be Jesus Christ could be reborn and replaced Liz Truss as a Tory candidate, and they would still go after him every day. So
not sure Jesus would be a Tory candidate, to be honest. But maybe he would be. Maybe it's like libertarian Jesus. Maybe he comes along. And says, "You're paying for these loaves and bread."
I simply don't know the direction of travel for the Scottish Tories. I really don't. I think the direction of travel will be they'll fall into obscurity and they'll become unelectable. That's what I think will happen if there isn't a big change.
Well, Heavenly Malbec has put in a comment saying, "I'm sick of Ross now. I had high hopes for, and he has been so disappointing. I sense a leadership challenge after the PM gets in, so that might well be on the cards."
Yes, I think we're all kind of. I think most of our support certainly is doesn't like Douglas Ross. I think they think he's weak, and whether you didn't like his disloyalty as we didn't, I don't think it's right to be disloyal to your boss. If you didn't like that, or you didn't like him flip flopping, so both sides, don't like him, and seemed to prove ineffective, and he just disturbs me. I think because what I mean. I was looking at this thing here. Yes, this now he's in a triple jobbing row after taking up football refereeing again. It's like, pay attention to the job at hand. It's like if you got that much time to go off and do football refereeing, it's like
as our country is facing the biggest economic crisis ever, he's away refereeing football games,
doing something else. That's
just
his shows.
Job, isn't it? Because I mean, he's an MP, he's an MSP, and he's a football referee. I wonder if he does any other part-time jobs as well. Maybe he needs
Well,
money. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's a paid thing, is it? Is refereeing paid?
Absolutely, it's paid.
Oh, yeah,
It's paid
yeah.
quite
Oh, is
highly
it?
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you just saved up a
Absolutely.
nice house or something like that. But anyway, it's at our expense. That's the thing. It's like we want someone full time and who will just do one thing: say no to nationalism, and who will support the UK as if you are supporting the Tory party. You want the best and most effective you can. In the same way as we often say in the show, we have Labour people, and we want them to be as strong as possible as well against the UK, and want them both to diminish nationalism. But I don't know if Ross is really doing that. I mean, what's he going? He's not declared for. He's not even declared for anyone yet, has he?
No, in the last hour, he's tweeted support for both the Liz Truss and Rishi.
That sounds about right, doesn't it?
Yeah. Good luck to both of them.
What kind of thing is that?
That's like putting bets on both horses in a two-horse race,
thing.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very Douglas Ross thing to do. Congratulations on both Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss will make it to the members' ballot. So congratulations all round.
Okay.
They're probably wondering who he is.
Yeah.
Right.
Let us know in the comments, where do you think the Scottish Tories will be in 5 years? I think what he's going to do is going to try to attempt a rebrand of the Scottish Tory party. I just don't think they can ever escape the name Tory. In Scotland, I think it's too toxic at the moment. So let us know, where do you think the Scottish Tories will be in 5 years' time? They going up?
I don't know about this rebranding thing. We've discussed this in the show a few times, actually, about this idea to break off and make their own party. It's utter nonsense. No one is going to vote for Douglas Ross over it's actually, Boris Johnson. So that was the case, and we made that case at the time. It's like if they break off, then it's, there's already, we talked about this, there's already is a Lib Dem party in Scotland. If they want to break off, go and join them. And actually, if they want to support the UK party and the things that the UK party is for, Brexit, making the best of Brexit, making trade deals and blah, 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 and all this stuff, vaccines and fighting for that, then you fight that corner. That's what you do. You say, this is what we fight for. And I think this is this Tory self-harakiri, as it were, is very damaging. I mean, it's the whole thing is really
a great comment coming in for Heavenly Malbec. I'd prefer they were just conservative. Stop playing to be different. It's so true. And it's the need and want to be different that I don't understand.
Yes. Yeah, it's a thing.
To be fair, what you said, Mark, I know it's a rebrand might not be on the cards, but you have to agree that something has to be done. It has to do something.
No, I don't agree with that, actually. I really don't. I think that if you talk about the Red Wall, right? So the Red Wall was Labour seats that were taken over by Tory, and pro-Brexit and so on. Changes, so it's a seismic shift, as it were. These things can happen. So I think if nationalism was gone, then as nationalism declines and normal politics returns to Scotland in the UK, then we can see revitalised Tory thing, because politics changes and what people want changes, and you might find that you personally grow out of a party, or personally grow into a party, whatever, or regions do. And so there's I think it's a bit of a defeatist argument, actually. And I think this whole thing with Boris and Douglas Ross, all born of defeatism, really. Instead of saying, "Oh, you think we're bad Tories?" Well, we are. So F off. We'll do what we want. We're not going to play on your ground. And by the way, you're not getting a referendum because we've got the power.
I would like a wee bit of forceful attitude like that.
A bit more like that.
Yeah.
Well, some of our comments are asking for Stephen Kerr to be the new leader of the Conservatives. What do you think of him, guys?
I quite like
Kerr
Stephen.
also did the Boris thing as well. He is stronger, certainly.
He's seen as more of a leader, but at the same time, really.
Okay, and then we've got another comment that says that if we change leader, then you might get more help investigating Sturgeon. So maybe Westminster has to step in a little bit and bring the Scottish Conservatives into line more.
Yeah.
Well, that's the case. I mean, really, if we had someone like Alistair Jack, for example, as the head of the Scottish Tories, and then we would really be talking, because he doesn't let them away with any nonsense. And we need much more of that. In fact, the Westminster Tories have been much stronger against the SNP than the Scottish Tories, and the Scottish Tories hate them for it. So it's a bit strange. Now, we're supposed to be bringing on Ian Smart, who is going to actually give a little bit of a different opinion, perhaps, on this. But I'm not sure if the connection is very good. I'm just going to see if I can bring him on. It may only be an audio feed, so let's see what we've got here. Ian, can you hear us?
I think we've lost Ian.
Yeah, I think we've maybe lost him for the moment anyway. So let's see what we're going to do. I'll bump him off and see if he comes back on in a minute. Please do make more comments. We thrive on them, and you see we've had some great comments so far. And also, tell us what you think about this. Well, I don't need to tell us what we think of the Scottish Tories. We actually know what you think already.
Well, if you haven't already, rattle that subscribe button. So we're trying to get the subscribers up on YouTube as well, on all mediums. So just rattle. I mean, every share really does. It's like ammunition in this war against the SNP. Right. One share is a bullet in our arsenal.
That's very good.
A couple of people have been asking where David is tonight. So David is on a wee holiday. He's off with a friend on holiday. That's all. He should be back next week.
All right. So I've got Ian on the line here. Let's see if he can come in here. Ian, hi. How are you? Can you hear us okay?
I'm absolutely fine. Sorry, I moved inside and hope I get a better signal than I have. So.
Right. Okay. Very good. So, what's your thoughts on the? Oh, first of all, better introduce you. Ian describes himself on Twitter as a lefty lawyer and has been a member of the Labour Party since 1974. He's got a great blog which is about constitutional issues and other issues as well, which I highly recommend you read. If you do get cut off, Ian, come back on and we'll try and resume as much as we can here. Don't know that even if the signal is bad. Can you hear us okay at the moment? I don't know if we're getting them very well.
Struggling.
Yeah, I think the connection is really poor. So maybe we'll drop that one for the moment. Let's see. Right. Okay. So we'll have to continue without that, I think. Let's see. Okay. We'll try give it one more go. And
I think he's back.
Right. Okay. Ian, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you perfectly now.
Right. Okay. So what's your thoughts on the Tory leadership race? No, we seem to not be doing. It's not seem to be working very well. I think
that's a third strike.
Sorry. I think we're just going to have to drop it for today, Ian, and we'll come back. Get another time. Can you send him a private message, Mary, for that? Anyway. Okay. All right. Well, what we will do is then we will go. I can't get my. For some reason, this is not moving. What we will do is we'll move on and we will go into the segment anyway. Here, we'll just do it as a kind of group discussion.
Right.
Anyway. All right. So back in a second. There we go. All right. So what we'll do is we'll do this segment anyway. Well, this is the thing really we want to talk with Ian about as a Labour guy. I did talk to him about it this afternoon on the phone, so a little bit of idea what we're talking about. The big question is here: can Keir Starmer be trusted with his recent pronouncements that there'll be no alliance with the SNP? So if we look back a little bit, hopefully I can find this. Right, and we go back in time to 2020. And yeah, here we go. IndyRef 2, Starmer refuses to rule out backing a Scotland referendum. And he was very I'm annoying in this interview. And we saw this at the time. We were like, no, what's this about? Why won't you say, be more clear? And he was really very shifty. I'm sorry to say that's what it was. But then fast forward to just a few days ago, no deals, or the past month or so, no deals with SNP before or after the election. Sir Keir Starmer says that. So Labour said no alliance with SNP under any circumstances. Now that was also made stronger on this interview here, which was on with Andrew Marr just a few days ago.
In which you would do a deal with the SNP?
No, absolutely none. And Andrew,
Right,
although it's my last answer, give me the chance just to expand on that. No deal into the election, no deal out. And I'll tell you for why. Because there is no basis for an alliance. I want to be the Prime Minister for the whole of the United Kingdom. I want a Labour government for the whole of the United Kingdom. There's no basis for an alliance with a party that wants to break up the United Kingdom. And if I take my central mission, which is to grow the economy, it is impossible to have an alliance with a party whose only answer to growing the economy is to put a border between England and Scotland. So this isn't just a numbers game. It is an absolute matter of principle that the Labour Party, which believes in the United Kingdom and the future of the United Kingdom and wants to make that positive case for the future of the United Kingdom, cannot do a deal with a party whose central aim is to break up the United Kingdom. So it's a very strong and emphatic no, not just because of the numbers, but as a matter of principle.
No, I don't wish Anna Sawa would say that.
Well, I think the interesting thing here is that it is actually Anna Sarwar that's saying this. Basically, what's happened, I think, and actually I think Ian would have confirmed this, is that basically Anna's Jackie Bailey and Ian. Oh, I've got his name. Ian. Well, I can't remember the MP as well. All have basically been working on the UK Labour Party, to firm up their stance. Now we've talked a little bit about this in the on the past podcasts as well. It doesn't make any sense, I think, for Labour to offer a referendum, because if you offer a referendum, then why would you vote Labour? You're just better voting for the SNP, right? And so basically you have to say, well, no referendum is possible, and the only way you can get rid of the Tories is to vote them out in Westminster. The only way to do that you can't do that with the SNP, because they only have 59 seats. Right? They're always talking about, you're denying democracy. It's like, well, you've not got enough seats to change the UK Parliament. 59 seats out of 650. The tail doesn't wag the dog, right? So if you want change in Westminster, there's only one option. You have to vote Labour. But if you offer a referendum, people will keep voting SNP. So that's the strategy. It's fairly straightforward. The cost of that strategy, though, is that the SNP basically say, Tories and Labour, two cheeks of the same arse, right? They both are denying Scotland's freedom and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if you have anything to say on that, Niall?
Well, they're definitely they're not too far away ideologically. That's why you can say it's weird that we've seen this happen over the last 4 years, where working class people like myself, I find themselves voting Tory for some reason, because somehow the Tory party is speaking to the working class better and more efficiently than the Labour Party is. The Labour Party, to me, seems to be it feels like the party of, people coming out of university, going straight into politics, similar to what the SNP was like at the height, when they've got Mary Black coming right out of university, becoming an MP the next week. It's more for champagne socialists, I think, whereas the sort of Tory line is, it feels more working class. And
well, that's an interesting turnaround. I think most people would say that, and perhaps that's the thing that the red wall seats. Where thinking. I did notice that Liz Truss was pushing that as well. But back to Starmer, I think one of the issues that we have as the majority in our followers in general, many of them have been so desperate for a Tory SNP. A Tory Labour alliance to do tactical voting in seats, that whenever they see Anna Sarwar attacking the Tories, then they have a hissy fit. They're like, you should be attacking the SNP instead. But the only way for Labour to win is to say we're a more effective anti-Tory party than the SNP, right? Because we can, as I said, in the absence of you being able to get independence, you can't get independence. So the only way to get the Tories out is to vote for us. And that's that fine line. It's almost like a fine line, I think, that at a certain point, if they can get enough people going over there, and now I don't know these ex-SNP people, whether they're middle class or not. I think it's maybe different. It's not really a class issue so much. And that you're talking about class issues, maybe. I think there is an element definitely of this metropolitan liberals, certainly in the UK party, but as it affects Scotland, I don't think that's the issue so much. Perhaps in Scotland, it's more like, okay, who can we vote for? Who can we vote? Who's the most, as I said, who's the most effective anti-Tory party? And I think it can reach a tipping point, once enough people go back to Labour, then the people who've gone back will say, why are you wasting a vote? Why are you wasting a vote? You're supporting the Tories by supporting the SNP. So I think there's a quite effective thing there, but it's a bit nuanced perhaps at the moment. But I was many people I think don't really trust Starmer, certainly. But I think go ahead.
Sorry, let's pose another question. So Ian was going to come on show, and I was going to ask him a very important question to me. It's, would the Labour Party admit someone like myself who is, unabashedly anti-woke, so far against the gender ideology, but if Labour were to prove themselves by letting in anti-woke people, would that encourage people to vote Labour? And I'm asking this to the audience as well, because, I mean, really, there's a problem with Labour and their woke policies. We all know it. It's, critical race theory, critical gender theory, whatever it is. It puts people like me off. It repels people, even. So in order for Labour to come back, they need to allow anti-woke people into their ranks. Do you think that's going to happen? Do you think it's possible? And I mean, that for me is the only way I see Labour coming back. Otherwise, the Tories are going to rule ad nauseum.
What do you think, Mary? Have you anything to say on it?
Well, I mean, I think that Labour have a problem with their woke policies. They're tying themselves in knots a lot of the time. A lot of people aren't resonating with it. I think SNP have just the same problem. So It sounds to me as if, I don't know if Anna Sarwar has been able to convince Keir Starmer that a good strategy for Labour is to win Scotland first. If they can win Scotland back, then that would give so much more confidence, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
For the next general election. And winning Scotland back it doesn't sound too difficult for them, I think.
Well, I don't know. I think it's quite a struggle. There's a lot, but I think the first thing that has to happen is that there has to be no hope of a second referendum. There has to be absolutely no hope. It has to be completely closed down by everyone. Then the people who are voting for SNP say, "Oh, why are we bothering with this?" Some nutters will go off to Alba and what have you, and they'll try the claim of right. The UN is going to come and save us. All this we're Scottish sovereign Scots, but there's nothing they can do about that. None of that trumps the actual constitutional arrangements we have, which are put in place by the majority of Scots who voted to remain in the UK. This is the thing. It's not Westminster stopping the second referendum. It's not Keir Starmer. It's not Boris Johnson. It's not Tories. It's not Labour. It's us, the people of Scotland, who voted to remain in the UK. That's the truth of it. And she'll try and deflect as much as possible. Oh, it's Westminster. It's all this is rubbish. It's not. It's us. And so she's actually in direct
her own
conflict.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, she's actually in direct conflict with the majority of Scots. And that's one of the reasons we started this thing, I suppose, because that's not right. Well, go ahead, Mary.
I was just basically going to say that I think that both, Labour and SNP, going on with all this, woke nonsense that they've got. I don't know if that's, I don't think it's driving anyone to the Tories or whatever, but, they're both parties are claiming to be socialists.
Well, why is Kemi performing so well if it's not driving people to vote?
Why is what performing?
Why did Kemi perform so well in the Tory leadership campaign? If it's no, I mean, it's
that's the
definitely an issue.
Conservatives, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the one thing that we have to understand, I think that's very important, is that young people are very, very into this whole, you might call it woke, they might say
I had
something
a crazy argument with somebody that I'll tell you about after this. But
okay, but the idea is that they see that, they say, oh, Black Lives Matter. Yeah, of course, we should have equality for Black people, and and justice anywhere is justice everywhere, that type of thing. And then they see a transgender thing. And of course, if people have transgender friends, it's a thing that happens. Many people know now someone who's transgender, and they feel for them, So young people have all that emotional thing going on, and I think it's not. Some of us can look at that and say, "All right, well, that doesn't suit me. Maybe it's not my thing. It's it's a scam or whatever it is. Just doesn't suit me, But a lot of people do that, and so there is it can catch a lot of votes. Now, whether the party actually believes in it or not is a different matter. What I'm trying to say to some extent is that even this thing with Keir Starmer saying, no alliances with the SNP, it's not actually directed at Tories, right? It's directed at his own supporters, first of all, and then it's directed at dissolution to SNP. And we have to always be mindful of that. You can say, all right, my personal politics perhaps doesn't match that. But as a party, is that something that can work for votes? And perhaps that is something that I think most people, though, are really interested. Well, maybe most people our age, that's the thing. Most people our age are interested in the economy. But I talk to, my kids, and they're like, not interested in the economy, interested in, all these, what you might call woke issues, right?
Mark,
okay, so please go
sorry,
ahead.
I can see that Ian is still with us. Do you think we should try and bring him in just to get a comment on what's been said on the show?
Right, I'll try again. Right, we'll try once more.
Fourth strike. Let's go.
We're trying.
Ian, we're trying to get you back in here. We're not having much luck because of the connection. Can you hear us okay? No, we're not having any luck with this at all. Right, I'm sorry. We'll try for a better one next time. So that's unfortunate because we can say what we like. One of the things, a lot of our followers are in the Labour Party and also in or Labour voters and swing voters and Lib Dem voters. So majority is a cross-party organisation, and sometimes it might appear that you're pushing. We want a strong Tory candidate to win. Well, we actually want a strong Labour candidate or whatever it is, Lib Dem as well in Scotland to beat the Nationalists. So we're always pushing for that. All right, we're going to move on from that. Sorry about that, Ian. Next up, it's a highlight of the week.
Yay!
It is the Zoomer of the week. Right, I don't know who's first here. Who's it going to be?
I'm first.
Mary.
Right, okay.
Okay, so my nomination for Zoomer of the Week is Ian Bully Blackford. I'm nominating him for his comments today at Boris Johnson's final PMQs. So Mr. Blackford stood up to say, I would like to thank the Prime Minister in his capacity as Minister of the Union for driving support for independence to new heights. Well, there's an outright lie right there, but Boris laughed and stayed on point. He questioned the SNP's record. He said, Scottish school standards are now not what they should be because of the failure of the SNP. They are failing people who are tragically addicted to drugs, and the people in Scotland are facing another £900 million in tax because of the mismanagement of the SNP. Blackford said Johnson was speaking nonsense and said, the people of Scotland know the reality that our NHS is the best performing in the UK and education standards under the SNP are moving in the right direction.
It's just beggars belief.
Well, if he thinks that the right direction's down the toilet, then he might be right.
Yeah.
So my nomination is Bully Blackford. Sorry, I just wanted to say as well, it makes me really angry that Mr. Blackford and the SNP, they really have the brass neck to stand up in the House of Commons and lie to the British people, as they do routinely, of course, to the Scottish people. I mean, they're basically saying, you know, night is day, black is white, Scotland's NHS is better than England's NHS, and Scottish education is going in the right direction. And the reason he does this is because they always get away with it.
Yeah.
No one up here, except us and some other people on social media, stands up to them and holds them to account. And so Scotland is going in the same direction as the failing education standards to the bottom of the international leagues. What do you think, guys?
I think you'd better be schooling your kids in Vietnam than Scotland at this point. You'd have countries that would be
against Vietnam.
Vietnam's doing quite well. They're quite well educated.
I'm thinking of a country that's been in wars over the last 40 years.
Afghanistan, perhaps.
Better, you know, you could drop bombs on schools and they'd have better education standards than what's happening in Scotland. It's outrageous that he said that. And Mary, I can totally understand why you're getting upset and angry, because it makes my blood boil. I mean, it's so wrong. It's for him to have the temerity to just go up there and blatantly say mistruths and untruths like that. It's just unbelievable. We've had people die waiting on ambulances in Scotland.
It's really shocking. It's really shocking. I mean, they're a single issue party. They're only interested in one thing. As we all know, they're not interested in managing anything. They're a protest group, really. Yeah. Right? The protest group, basically, they're the equivalent of those people walking down the street. You know, those all under one brain cell folk. You know, walk down the street and they say, claim of right and all this, of independence, we should be free, freedom, all this, and then they're like, they can't do anything, but they're not able. They're incompetent, they are corrupt, they have no sense of managerial sense. They just don't know how to run things. They've not got a single person in there who's from a proper business background or anything like that. Not that you need a business person to run the country, but at least maybe one might be useful, or someone who knows how to do things. All they're interested in is agitation, shouting as loud as they can, and telling lies to people, to their own followers. That's the most shocking part, I think. Telling lies to your own followers, and but after a while it unravels. You know, they've got a wee bit of momentum now. They think, we're going to have a second referendum. You know, it's just Nicola's leading us up the path. Well, it's the garden path, as it were. It's not going anywhere. Up the garden path. Why do they say that, up the garden path? It's a bit of
I don't know.
Garden. Maybe it's a circular kind of thing. Anyway, you know, lead up the hill and down again, to use a better metaphor. Yeah. And it's like, but this time down the plug hole. So.
Well, this comment here is exactly what I'm thinking about, and what annoys me most. This is from BG. Trouble is, most of English media and English politicians don't know enough about Scotland to challenge the windbag.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people down in England, Wales, or Northern Ireland, and they don't know what's going on in Scotland. They don't know how bad things are. And they probably, they might think that there's some truth to some of the things that he's saying. Well, I can tell you, there isn't.
None.
That's it. I mean, every time, he stands up, the whole nation reaches for its remote control, and the whole nation groans. He's such a blowhard and such a bore. That's the thing. You look at that and think, that's what all these years of Scottish nationalism.
It can stand in it can stand in London and Westminster, in the heart of Westminster, the heart of our democracy, and the people of Scotland have proclaimed every single week. It's just, come on, it's so boring, and it's, how long has he been doing this, guys?
So boring. We can only hope that the Lib Dems improve their status in this next election, so that they're the third party, and then they're relegated back to the benches where they belong. We need to, I'm conscious of time, we need to move along. Summer of the week. Okay, so I was shocked, appalled, horrified to see this tweet by, here it is. This tweet by Fraser Nelson, the editor of the Spectator. Now, Spectator is a conservative magazine, pretty much, leader of conservative thought. And he says, I'm still uncomfortable with all Tory candidates saying they'd refuse to hold a second vote on independence. It's a difficult balance, but usually best to err on the side of debate and democracy. I just still can't get over this. Mary will tell you that I was ranting about this yesterday, ranting in when I was in shopping. What the hell is this? Because basically we're spending years, and we're spending a lot of time. We're getting to this point now where we can say, look, we're firming up this anti-nationalist stance. No referendum. If we give them even a hope of a referendum, appease them in any way, they just take it and take it and take it. You have to just close it down, say no. And here we have the editor of the #1 conservative magazine saying, wow, you know what? We need to keep it going for debate and democracy. You're like, I don't think so. I don't think so. We've got a minority of toxic separatists who try to break up the UK, and we give them a second chance just because you think there's not been enough democracy. We've had years of debate, and democracy is us. We voted to say no. It's just disgraceful that this guy doesn't uphold our vote, and I think it's typical of these London-based media that are, because Fraser Nelson's actually Scottish, right? So he's a London-based media, and they sit in their ivory towers and they're like, yeah, well, we think we should give these Scottish nationals, the benefit of the doubt. Of course, why not? And there's a whole team of them. And if we can add Fraser to this now, there's Kenny Farquharson, Alex Massey, always willing to give Scottish nationalism the benefit of the doubt. And they would never in a million lifetimes give any benefit of the doubt to English nationalists. Never. And it's sick, and it needs to stop. And we need to. Fraser, and this, sorry, I'm ranting a little bit, but this guy Fraser, he had hundreds of comments under there from our supporters and many of the other social media supporters. Hundreds of comments tell him to basically, get back in his box and to say we've had enough already. And so hopefully we've done so much work to get to the point where even Labour firmed up now. Liz Truss hopefully is strong on it, and hopefully she will win. Even if Rishi Sunak wins, we can firm him up and say no more. We've had enough. Really, okay, and then take these people to do the same. Rant over.
Okay,
that's quite a good one, Mark.
Right, so
we understand and we agree.
Just ridiculous nonsense. It's not no more appeasement. We've had enough. It doesn't work. Got to say no. Moving on, it's going to be Niles.
Just seen a comment coming there, Alan Dry, but I stumbled on this while scrolling down Facebook, so I decided to listen for a bit. It was just about attack on Nicola Sturgeon or the SNP. Well, you'll be glad to know my Zoomer of the week is Nicola Sturgeon. So it's been a hell of a week for Birdies and Eagles at the 150th Open, returning to the home of golf. But Birdies and Eagles weren't the only things flying around. Sturgeon's Scotland's top vulture, Sturgeon, couldn't resist showing up to get the selfies and to pretend that she's popular. Let's be honest, guys, this is outrageous. I don't know if you've got some of the pictures, Mark.
Oh, here it comes.
There she is. She's swinging a club. So despite the organisers for the Open running an exceptional tournament, as always, it was marred by transport mayhem. So especially the trains. So the Open organisers actually had to tell fans to avoid ScotRail in order to avoid being let down. And here's a quote from the organiser, Johnny Cole Hamilton. I don't know if he is in relation to Alex Cole Hamilton, but executive director of the Championship and the Royal and the Ancient said he had no choice but to urge fans not to travel by rail, because there was a risk that fans who have travelled by train may not be able to get services to get home. I mean, how daft is this? I mean, we can get trains there, we can't get back. And what happens? LNER, London North East Railway, comes to the rescue and puts on double the trains for Lookers to St Andrews. And, you know, it's all fine and dandy talking about the trains because Nicola Sturgeon doesn't use them. She used chauffeur-driven vehicles, and that's how she showed up to the Open. And there's another picture as well. She's pictured in the grandstand with Liz Lloyd, and Nicola Sturgeon's so important, guys, so important. She doesn't even wear her own lanyard. She gets her wee aide to wear a lanyard for her. You know, it's just it's
Yeah, well, it's just, you know, selfie queen of Scotland. That's what it is, really, isn't it?
Yeah, so the only thing she can drive is a golf club. Yeah.
Oh, very good. Very good. That's why we have you on here, Mary. You know.
Well, I just find it really weird that she doesn't drive. I mean, she was a lawyer. How did she get around? Did she stand and wait for a bus, or you know, what did she do?
Who knows? Well, she was only a lawyer for a wee while before she got
let go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Mary, as you're the guest, I suppose. It's just, you can choose.
Right. Well, I'm going to type it in here. I'm sorry, guys, but just because of the circumstances, I think I have to vote for my own Zoomer of the week. No one's ever done that before. I know, but I'm sorry. I think Ian Blackford has to be the Zoomer of the week.
Fair enough, Mary.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll go with that one.
Right. Hold on, Terry. I have to type it in. Hold on now. No, that's the wrong one. Ian. Just carry on talking while I do this.
Right, okay. Anyway, so I'm going to close up. We will be back next Wednesday, July 27th, at our usual time of 7 p.m. Thank you to donors. You can donate to the podcast and to our Fight the Pretender Ref crowdfund. Please do so.
Donate, and we can all collectively destroy the Pretender Ref before it even gets half the grand.
That's right. So it's your chance to put a wee bit to, help. This is the thing. We need everyone to work together, and we're actually working with other groups to do that as well. Thank you to UK Union Voice and Unity Against Separation Facebook pages. You can follow them on Facebook, of course, and on Twitter. And please subscribe if you can on YouTube, because we need more subscribers. More subscribers we have, the more it goes up in the search rankings and the more people see this show. So you could be responsible for more people watching.
Yes.
Okay, and thank you everyone for your comments. They're still coming in. I'm still trying to put as many up as I can. So see you all next week. Thank you.
Yeah, good night from me, everyone. And thanks for all the comments as well. Brilliant.
I'll leave you with the thought of the week. It doesn't actually matter who the Tory or Labour leader is, actually. The SNP will demonise them anyway. So we just have to fight with what we've got. And we are winning when the tide is turning. So thank you all for watching. We'll see you again next week. Thanks to Mary. Thank you, Niall, as well.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everyone.